I know it's not pretty, but this is what peak low-tier chariot engineering looks like. It's pump wagons, folks, and at 650, they are pretty well under your sort of average, what I would consider low-tier chariot cost, the sort of 750, 850 cost range. These guys are only 650. You know, there are even cheaper variants, of course. There's the 500 cost regular pump wagon, which is also pretty decent, but the Flappas just have so much going for them. It's hard to really look past them. I will say the first and biggest weakness is the lack of HP. They've got lower health than any other chariot unit in a similar class cost range, and their armor is also not amazing. Melee defense is pretty good. They do rock a full 12 unit models, which combined with their charge bonus, speed, and armor piercing damage makes them quite a formidable opponent to deal with, even for unit types that might typically be good against chariots, like cavalry. And especially in support of Greenskins' own excellent heavy cavalry, or Boy Biggins, they present a very formidable mobile threat here. Gojira's going to be taking a couple of them with a couple of flingers. He's got Goblin Frontline, Skarsnik, River Troll Hag, 2 Boar Biggins, and Morglub's Mangy Marauders. And yeah, opposing him for the Lizardmen, Pterodon Riders. We've got Cold One Spear Riders. I believe this is Pigmen here. He's got some, more Spear Riders in the back. Metal Mage, which is a fun choice for sure. Out Salamander Hunting Pack here. He's got Arc of Sotek double. So quite a wild build, I will say. No Plague of Rusts, maybe, on the Spider. And he does have it. It would definitely be good to synergize. Right now, he is not getting as much value as he should from those Salamanders because the armor of the Flinger is putting in some pretty serious work against their missile attacks. But anyway, we almost missed the charge. Well, we pretty much did miss the charge, but let's see the Cold One Spear Riders. They are quite overmatched against all of this anti-large here. The Flappers are going to switch directions now, and let's see where they go as that skink goes for a ride. They do have their little mushroom attacks as well, which technically means they do range damage. It doesn't really do a lot, but it's something that exists. I don't know if it actually even hurts leadership, but yeah, maybe it does actually. Which is another great way that they can potentially break some like low-tier infantry or something, right? Gives them an advantage over something like I said, a Chaos or Norskin chariot. Even the Razorgore chariots, which are, Tuskgore chariots, which are pretty good, only 100 costs more. Again, they're the typical kind of 4 unit models, but oh man, look at the Boar Boys. They ride over that hill there, getting blasted by Salamander fire. And they do take some pretty hefty damage. That being said, Salamanders don't have a lot to try and protect them here. They've got some tattered skinks regrouped to screen, but it's not looking great for certain aspects. The Arc of Sotek's getting in here, doing some good damage to the Gobos, and the Pump Wagons are starting to kind of take some incidental damage here. There's a little attack run by some Cold One Spear Riders, but again, you're trading potentially Cold One Spear Riders against the unit, which is significantly more expensive. But let's see. Full final transmutation there. And that is going to do a pretty good amount of damage to that single entity blob. The other Flinger was quite far away, but the Metal Slon's definitely in trouble here as the Flingers are able to get that poison debuff, slow him down. They do not have the sticky webs in melee, instead just rocking for the more traditional poison. But I'm curious, the balance power is showing pretty even still for the Lizardmen. I'm curious to know why. I guess because the Salamanders are still so healthy, still have quite a bit of HP left at this point. But, oh yeah, look at the Flappas getting quite quick. And of course, the Pump Ardor lads makes them charge even faster once they hit their charge speed. Which basically just means they have an effectively higher charge speed, but, one thing I was talking to some people about recently, speed does factor into impact damage. So not only do they have a higher charge bonus, which means their attack animations, once they're charged in, will be juiced up, but the actual impact damage itself calculation does factor in speed. So having a higher speed means they do actually do more charge damage pretty reliably. See the Boar Boys pursuing here, and just generally green tide flowing against the Lizardmen as they run to the hills. But let's check in. I'd imagine the raw value isn't like absolutely bonkers, but 165 kills, yeah, 729 value. These ones pay for themselves. These ones also pay for themselves. And considering, I mean, some of the time they're going after infantry, but like here, they're supporting boarboys in cavalry fights, which is not something a typical chariot is designed to do. But again, that charge bonus, that speed, that armor piercing, you can see their animations are pretty good as well in sustained melee combat, unlike a regular chariot, which might have some attack animations, but typically they're not as good against enemy cavalry units. They can be at times, but yeah, I mean, both these end up paying for themselves, plus a little bit, which is really nice to see. And as far as the rest of the build, I mean, the Orc Boarboy Biggins also pay for themselves. Flingers actually don't quite. I mean, tactically, they're pretty good to have here, and I think they were definitely quite useful. Yeah, for Pigman, I love the experimental build. There's aspects that were quite good. I think, honestly, just missing that Plague of Rust on the initial, that could have changed the sort of the game script, if you will. If he had been able to get a big burst and actually, like, maybe even wavered that. I don't know if he could have routed that Flinger, but yeah, a little Plague of Rust there. He had a really good firing arc initially, and didn't get quite as much damage efficiency as it needed to, which, I don't know. Would it have changed the outcome of the game? Hard to say, really. I've been seeing more File Leech Bolas, which, I mean, they're pretty good, but they are a unit that kind of takes some time to pay for themselves. So, like here, I think he would have definitely benefited from just going a little bit more aggressive. And likewise, that Searing Doom, I don't know if I caught it too much if he was throwing it on the cavalry, but Searing Doom is definitely a spell that excels at killing cavalry, especially heavy cavalry in engagements like that when they're all clumped up. So, anyway, yeah. But overall fun stuff for sure. Let's just do a quick kind of think through and comparison of units of this class. Again, Razorgores are another one that I would, Tuskgores rather, are another one that I would rate very highly. They are 100 points more expensive, but they got more armor, more overall HP, even if they do have less unit models. Quite a bit of more HP per model. But that extra model count is one thing that makes the pump wagons so much stronger in a way, is that they have a lot more presence. They can actually like occupy more unit models at the same time, right? Like take up more physical space on the battlefield, which can be a benefit often. Sometimes it's not, but a lot of the time it is. It does mean that the individual unit models are less likely to get surrounded. Again, they do quite well in a supporting role often. That being said, they can sometimes have unit models get stuck and die a lot easier, which is definitely a thing. But like Tomb King's chariots are 200 points more expensive. They're a similar model count. They're not armor piercing damage, although they do have technically more overall weapon strength. Not as much charge, but a lot of their stats are remarkably similar, actually. I mean, leadership undead, so we can kind of throw that one out the window, but the speed of the Flappas is not much slower. It's essentially the same, and with that buff, it actually becomes faster once they hit their charge speed. Melee attack and melee defense. Flappas even better melee attack, and that's without WA or any of the Greenskins melee attack buffs, which they have plenty of, and plenty of ways to increase that. And then, of course, the extra little missile damage, you know, just to add that extra little leadership debuff against certain factions does make a decent difference for sure. So, yeah, just way more cost-effective overall, and generally, I would say just a much better unit. I mean, it must be said, Skeleton Chariots do have 2,000 more HP and 30 more armor. But, again, at a 200 extra cost, and considering the damage output of Skeleton Chariots is not nearly as reliable, animation one is a big one, you don't see on the stat sheet that definitely would affect, especially this comparison, because I feel like Skeleton Chariot animations are a little bit janky, and speaking of getting stuck and dying, is something they do quite a bit without doing nearly as much damage. The animation set of Flappas allows them often to escape in situations where other chariots might not. And let's actually look mass-wise, 1,500 versus 1,500. So the mass is exactly the same. You know, there's some pretty big considerations there about what you actually want from your chariot. If it's, you know, efficiency, which for me, a lot of the times bringing chariots like as a component of a build, efficiency is a big one. And the fact that they can handle against certain cavalry types means that they're a lot less risky of a pick than other chariots, which I think is probably why I'd rate them best in class. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed that. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.